Hello, everyone. This evening I'm speaking to Nathaniel Montgomery. And Nathaniel's guiding light in creating his dreams has been if you don't ask, you don't get it. And this has really helped Nathaniel take off and make his dreams come true in a big way. Nathaniel, hi, I'm so happy you're here with me tonight. How are you?
Hi. Great. Awesome.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
being
having
here.
me.
My pleasure. So tell us more about how that became such a guiding force for you, shall we say, in knowing that it was something that you wanted, you needed to just ask the question and how you asked the question.
Yeah. Um, so this is something I recognized in myself early on is I'm not asking for things that I want. It's almost like I have a pessimistic view that probably won't work. So I might as well not try.
Mm.
And the times though that did ask, uh, this is what I've found out. It's that I do get them. So for an example, since I'm a life coach, and one of my ways of getting clients is just to ask people. I invite them to have a coaching session, and it'd be really easy to not ask anybody. In fact, I used to think of myself I used to be so afraid of sales. I used to think of myself as somebody that was driving a van with vacuum cleaners in it,
Mm.
brand new vacuum cleaners that I could sell, and I'm driving around and not letting anybody know that I have them in there.
Mm. Beautiful.
No
Yeah.
one knows I sell vacuum cleaners, so no one knows to even ask me about them. And so they just sit in the van.
Right.
And that's kind of that's like a metaphor for how I was as a life coach. No one knew I was a life coach. No one, and I was just afraid to ask if they would want life coaching sessions. But when I started to ask, um, I'd start getting yeses. People did take me up on it. And eventually I had to also learn how to ask if they'd like to know how to work with me.
Mm.
Do you want to know how I work with my clients? Do you want to know how much it costs? Do you want to know what it looks like? And then when I started having to say prices, you could say I started real low, but if I wanted to make more money, I had to start asking for more money. I had to start saying it costs more. And then I was very surprised when every time I've said a number, somebody says yes to it. But they would just say yes to the low numbers too. So if you want to make more money, say bigger numbers.
Right.
And they say yes to those numbers as well. That's what I just keep finding, that like when we think that things might be a no, I might judge somebody saying that they can't afford my coaching service, but there might be actually more resourceful than that.
Right. More resourceful than you know of. And in fact, you have a beautiful story of resourcefulness, don't you?
Yes, because when I wanted to hire Jason Goldberg, and Jason Goldberg, this was back in 2015, but he was really good at helping brand new coaches get their first clients, and that was who I was. I was actually not making any money from coaching. I was a bartender,
Mhm.
and a low-paying bartender at that. But I had the coaching session with Jason because he does that. He sells the experience, not the concept. So he actually gave me 2 free coaching sessions up front. He was so resonated with me. I was so impressed. And I'd actually experienced other coaches before, but nothing like him, that I was so inspired that I went to my dad and I made a proposal that he see my coaching. I want to give him a sample of my coaching. I was like, and we set it up where I was the coach and he was the client. We went to a Barnes and Nobles and just sat in these comfy chairs. And my dad was really impressed. I was fresh off of talking to Jason. I even think I said some things that Jason told me to my dad. And Dad was so impressed that he said, I want to invest in you. He's like, if I gave you this amount of money, do you know how you would spend it? And so, yeah, and I wanted to spend it on Jason.
That's
And so
beautiful.
then I was able to go back to Jason and I told him the whole story with my dad and we were able to get it done. And this is just a great example of like, I might have, Jason could have judged me as a person that couldn't afford him.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great example of being able to come up with the money.
Right. There are two things that I take away. Number one, that you showed Jason that you were crossing a line to him. I so want this, I'm going to make an effort. And number two, we so often in relationships expect people to mind read. If you love me, you'd know that I want flowers every Friday. But if I ask you to bring me flowers, you'd be so happy to do that if you knew, right? Instead, you might bring me a bottle of wine. Well, I don't drink wine, but you didn't know about the flowers and you enjoy wine. So things can get really messy, but if we ask clearly, then it makes it so much easier for us. And I think that's a great example even of our own relationship. I think where I reached out to you and we very clearly set our relationship and got it going. Thank you so much, Nathaniel, for being with us this evening. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm glad I got to share that tip.
Great.